on the live stream. Okay, so we have an apology from Councillor Hockian. Councillor Flaherty?
There's an apology for Councillor Kyle Savage. He's working. He may be able to get on later, but at the moment he's not present.
Okay, Councillor Flaherty, thank you. Councillor Kevin Savage, are you laid on? No. I have an apology from Councillor Paul Barry, who has had a family bereavement, so we send Councillor Barry our condolences this evening. And I also have an apology from the Chief Executive. Are there any other apologies, members? I know it's a hybrid meeting, so I have two screens to look at, so just perhaps bear with us for a moment or two. But if there are no other apologies, I'll move on. And just at this stage, members, it's my intention to take any other business before we go into confidential this evening. And I have one item that has been duly notified to myself, so that's my intention. So item number 2, any declarations of interest, members? Seeing no hands, seeing no lights. Agenda item number 3, report from the Head of Strategy and Performance. And with 3 decision items here, members. Item 3.1, diversity champions, and this item will be taken by Martina McNulty.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. Yes, this item in relation to diversity champions is where we're asking members to consider the content of the report and agree that at our annual AGM, both the Lord Mayor and Deputy Lord Mayor would be appointed as our elected member diversity champions. There is a regional diversity and equality group, and the content of the report details the responsibilities of that group. And also in relation to the diversity champions, that is a key feature of the work of the group. And as well as elected members, also each council has a number of officer diversity champions, and that's something that we're hoping to develop over time. The council has already got our disability action plan, and to further support this initiative, the council made a commitment in that plan that we would have elected member diversity champions. So in 2015, the Lord Mayor was formally adopted, but to formalise this arrangement and to continue to promote the initiative, we are recommending that annually it's the Lord Mayor and Deputy Lord Mayor that are appointed. And as I said, there will be other work taken forward in relation to this through the work of that regional group and locally with our policy diversity and equality officer, Mary Hannah, as well. So happy to take any questions, members.
Thank you, Martina. Members, any questions? Councillor Flaherty, your hand's up.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, look, I'm having fulfilled this role myself. I attended some of those meetings, Martina, so I'm more than happy to propose. And if this can be strengthened, I think that would be very important.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty. So we have a proposal from Councillor Flaherty. Have we a seconder, members? Alderman Twyble. All in agreement, members? Okay. Before we move to 3.2, Councillor Cosby, were you wanting in?
Okay.
Okay, yeah. It went red, and it was green. I know, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Councillor Cosby.
Just patiently wait on the screen going. don't know what you've done, Mr. Chairman. It was working on Monday.
Anyway,
It was last night. It was problematic. It was them economic development ones broke the technology.
Tim, you have to have your mic off.
Not sure that's working either. There we go. Here we go. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and apologies. I did just indicate, and maybe I was either too fast or too slow to catch you, to catch your eye before we move to agenda item 3. But it's just to raise a slight query in terms of the order of the papers, if I can. And I do just note that there is an item being brought in 7.2, which is a review of report on working groups. I am very conscious. I actually raised that issue in public session of this council, and I'm wondering how it has now moved into confidential business. It is my preference that it be dealt with in public because that's where it was originally raised from memory. Thank you.
Strategic Director.
Thank you, Chair. Normally we would take these matters when they're still under discussion under confidential business. It is a matter that relates to the business of the council and individual members potentially as well. So that was the reason that it was put into confidential business, Chair.
Okay, Sharon, thank you for that. Councillor Cosby, you went back in?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Sharon, I appreciate that, but that didn't happen previously. There was quite a substantial discussion when this was raised at last month's governance committee, and then in full council in public session. And the detail that is in the report, as far as I can see, is no different to those discussions. In fact, it just kind of encapsulates the discussions that were already had and brought together in options, which I appreciate that you've put an awful amount of work into. So I appreciate that and I thank you for that. I'm just conscious that we're now moving something that was publicly debated into confidential business. And I'm just saying how that may appear to those who have heard the debates on 2 previous occasions and then hear nothing about it this evening. So I'm just relaying that to you. I'm uncomfortable with that because I did raise it in public, and I don't like the fact that it has now come into confidential business. Putting that on record, I'm in the hands of the chair and the rest of the committee as to what should happen. My proposal would be that it would come back into the public agenda for the meeting. I appreciate others may have a different view, Mr. Chairman, so I'm happy to hear those views, and I'm happy, if it needs a vote, then people will vote on it and whatever, and I'll take the result of that as it comes, but that's my view.
Okay, Councillor Cosby, thank you. And I think it's also fair to say that it came up and got quite a full discussion at the governance working group last Monday evening, which wasn't in the public domain. Just for context, I say that, Councillor Cosby. Alderman Mutray.
Thank you, Chair. I would concur with what Councillor Cosby says in relation to this. I think that business shouldn't be in confidential in this council unless it relates to staffing or one of the very set criteria that there are, and unless the officer tonight can itemize this point and tell us exactly why it shouldn't be in the public domain, I would second the proposal that it is discussed in the public domain. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Mutray. Well, members, you have heard the proposal and the seconder that we discussed this in the public domain. Sharon, if Sharon has nothing to add, members, are we in agreement with the proposal that is on the table that we discuss item 7.2 in public and not in confidential this evening? I'm not seeing anyone animated. I'm not seeing any hands. We're in agreement, members. Okay. So, right, that will come then under, or before we go into confidential and after the one item of any other business. Okay, members, back to the agenda in hand, and we're on item 3.2, draft revised risk management policy, and it's back to Martina. Thank you, Martina.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, members, this is a decision item to approve the draft revised risk management policy. You'll all be aware that we've had a risk management policy for a number of years, and at different times it is revised to take account of best practice. The particular reason for revising this policy was to reflect the reporting format in relation to our new structure, and also to take into account how we report and manage project risks. So happy to take any questions, but otherwise that's the only significant changes in relation to it. And it also was, I suppose we engaged with the Performance and Audit Committee members in relation to it as well before it was brought to this committee. Thank you.
Okay, Martina, thank you for that paper. Members, this is a decision item. First of all, are there any questions or queries or comments for Martina? Seeing no hands, seeing no lights in the chamber. We need a proposer for this, members, please. Proposed Councillor Cosby, seconded Alderman Moutray. You just missed out, Councillor Lavery. With it proposed and seconded, everyone in agreement, members? Thumbs up and heads nodding, that's grand. Another decision item, item 3.3, consultation documents from external organisations. Martina, over to you again, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is the monthly report that comes in relation to external consultations, asking members to approve the recommendations for processing those consultations and listed at Appendix 2.
Okay, Martina, thank you for that. Members, any questions or queries for Martina on this one? No hands and no lights. Decision item, need a proposer. Councillor Lavery, thank you.
Happy to propose, Chair.
And thank you, Councillor Lavery. And Councillor Flaherty is the seconder. Any contrary proposals, members? Happy, agreed. Thank you, members. Agenda item number 4, members' correspondence, and I haven't been notified of any items of correspondence. Agenda item number 5, and this is the report from the Head of Community Planning, Policy and Research. And members, we have a presentation on this one, but I'm going to bring in Elaine Gillespie to set the scene for this. Elaine.
Thank you, Chair. Can I just check, because I believe we're under confidential business?
Chair, you've moved into confidential, Chair.
Yeah. Yeah. Apologies, members. The AOB before that, Councillor Tinsley.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And I'm not going to hold you back too much. It's really, Chair, out of frustration that I'm raising this issue tonight on behalf of the many young people and parents of young people and driving instructors who have been contacting me and many others throughout the pandemic regarding the way learner drivers and MOTs have been treated. I'm not going back over past issues. Everybody knows what they are, but there just seems, Chair, no end to all of the problems. Just during the past few weeks, the department changed the appointment portal, and it was frustrating enough when a learner was trying to book a test, only to discover they had to wait for months before they could actually get their test. But But now the portal has actually changed in that if you want to cancel your test, or if you want to change your appointment, it was you now have to cancel your test and then try for an earlier date. And like, that is just totally disheartening. If you had 4 or 5 months to wait, previously you were able to put it in and keep trying to get a cancellation. Now that has stopped, and you now have to just cancel your appointment and try again. So it's totally disheartening for the young people. And another issue, and this is the reason why I was bringing this up tonight, was that it's becoming too frequent for these last minute cancellations. I had 2 young people contact me last week, absolutely devastated. They had waited months for their test date, only be told 12 hours before their time that their test was cancelled. And to add insult to injury, they were told that it was their responsibility to get a new test date, which they tried, only to be told it's January 2022 before they can get it. And they've no way of recouping that back because they can't keep trying for a cancellation. To make it worse, the price had increased and they had not received their refund. And sure, this is just absolutely disgraceful. And it's only when you experience this, you fully understand how this is actually affecting our families. And I do have more issues, but I'm not going to take time up tonight to go through them. I just feel that as a rep, an elected rep, I need to try to do everything I can to make the department to listen, because at the minute, any response I'm getting back from them is, we're working on it. But what does that actually mean? What are they actually doing? And all I want to know is from them how they're going to navigate their way through this. I propose, Chair, we write to the department and request an urgent meeting with either the Minister or department officials to ensure they listen to us as local councillors, raising the concerns of our constituents, and request they outline to us what they're proposing to improve the current situation, because quite frankly, it just can't continue like this for another 12 months. Thank you, Chair. I'm making that as a proposal.
Okay, Councillor Tinsley, thank you very much for that. And it certainly is a very important issue that you have raised. Members, you have heard Councillor Tinsley's proposal that we make contact with the department. Alderman Moutre.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I'm very happy to second the proposal so well made by Councillor Tinsley here tonight in relation to this. There is a human aspect in this. Young people are suffering mentally because of the stresses put on them. And I would support surely that we write to the Minister and we invite the Minister to come down here, because if Minister Mallon's remembered for anything, she's going to be remembered as the Minister of dither and delay throughout her tenure, and that relates to nearly all aspects of her work. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Moutre. So we have it proposed and seconded. Members, are we in agreement that we take this course of action? No hands, no lights. Agreed. Thank you, members. Thank you, Councillor Tinsley. Okay, that as per earlier, we'll take item 7.2, the report on the working groups. Sharon.
Thank you, Chair. Members, you will recall that both at committee and council there have been some discussions on the nature and the makeup of working groups. And what you have before you tonight is a report that sets out a number of options, taking on board conversations that members have had, including at the governance working group. I'll not go through all of those in detail because you have all of those before you, but suffice to say there was no one clear recommendation coming forward from the working group, and therefore set out within the report are the options that are available to members, or indeed other options that members may see fit to propose. So I'm happy to take any questions, Chair, and otherwise I'll let members let us know their thoughts on the report. Thank you.
Okay, Sharon, thank you very much for that. And members, I mean, we have went through this, we have rehearsed this, and so I'm not proposing to spend all evening on it, because I think certainly last Monday at the governance working group, it did get a good going. Councillor Cosby.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And of course, it'll not surprise you that I do intend to raise this issue tonight again. Just want to put on record my thanks to Sharon. Sharon, I know you've put in an awful lot of work around this, and the mathematics around this is complicated. I appreciate that. But given that there is no rule for us to follow in how we configure our working groups, that we have the various to do that ourselves, I'm going to make a very straightforward and simple proposal, taking into consideration some of the conversations that I've had with officers around different types of working groups as well. And my proposal is on the basis of allocating 10 places via the hunt for the working group. And then, because that would rule out the involvement of the Alliance Party and Paul Berry as an independent, I would propose that we would then add the Alliance Party and Paul Berry to that. There has been some question raised over my own position. I'm aware of that. I am also acutely aware that I was not elected as an independent, but a member of the DUP. So if my own position is forfeited on those working groups, then so be it. So I'm not proposing that I would add myself to that. So it is the Alliance Party, the Paul Berry, plus 10 positions, which would equate to 3 for the DUP, 3 for the Ulster Unionists, 3 for Sinn Féin, 1 for the SDLP, 1 for the Alliance Party, and 1 for Paul Berry. I would propose that would be for all working groups with the exception of DEA-specific working groups. So that's my proposal this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cosby. Councillor Mackle, you're in first.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, you're right. We did have a good discussion about this at the governance working group last week, so I don't intend to have a lengthy discussion tonight about it. I think I would like to propose that we go with option 4, which is to continue as is, adding Councillor Cosby as an additional independent member, and see what the peer review group and the review that comes out of that has to say about the formation of working groups and how we move working groups forward in the future. So I would propose option 4 and remove the 5 defunct working groups, and Councillor Cosby is entitled to sit on the working groups then as an independent member.
Thank you, Councillor Michael. Councillor Tennyson, you're in next.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, we have rehearsed this at length on a number of occasions. Speaking as a smaller party, when it comes to this debate, I have a number of concerns with Councillor Cosby's proposal. We've been through them before. The practical challenges in terms of the smaller party covering all the working groups, and the fact that we aren't allowed substitutes, means that it's often necessary to have 2 members on the working groups to ensure that the party can be represented as widely as possible. Councillor Cosby's proposal doesn't actually achieve proportionality, and these are not decision-making bodies, so no decisions are actually made here. These are working groups that are intended to attract a wide cross-section of opinion from across the parties and to soundboard ideas before reports come through to committee. So all Councillor Cosby's proposal achieves is to actually stymie the voices of those smaller parties who are going to lose representation on them, namely the SDLP and the Alliance Party. I'm further concerned that this is the latest in a long list of decisions that have been taken, which I view as a tax on smaller parties and minority voices within the council, following on from the attempts to limit the number of motions that could be brought, which again adversely impacted on smaller parties and our ability to take debate forward. So I think this is a pattern of behaviour that we've seen. It's a power grab from Councillor Cosby and his former colleagues, and I can't support it on that basis. I'm much more minded to support Councillor Liam Mackle's proposal, which I think is sensible, that we continue as is for the time being, and then we see what comes out of the peer review, because that will be a much more independent view as to what the optimal form of governance is for this council. But I can't support Councillor Cosby's proposal tonight. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Townsend, thank you for that. Alderman Mutre, you're in next.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I wanted to second Councillor Cosby's proposal, but it's rather strange and ironic to hear some of the smaller parties who often would have advocated proportionality in times past, now trying to deny it, because we have 3 parties in this council with 10 seats as we currently stand, and with 2 members on a working group, that's 20% of their representation. And yet we have the Alliance Party with 3 seats, and with 2 members, that will be 66% representation. I mean, you don't have to be a crack mathematician to know that that doesn't really stack up. So I'm very happy to second Councillor Cosby's proposal.
Thank you, Alderman Moutre. Councillor O'Hanlon, you're in next.
Thank you, Chair. If anywhere done irony, it would be our council, because if Councillor Cosby is the only one that I am aware of ever has put a motion before council which denies the people that have voted for him a voice on any group or any issue. He's also come forward with some sort of warped version of proportionality, where it's the calculation doesn't suit the figure that he wants to get to, so then he decides to add on others after that. There are other options, by all means. There are other options tabled in the paper which gives proportionality based on 12, 13 and 14 members. But look, I think that rather than rush to a decision, I think Councillor Mackle has set out a process that has proposed the option before us, and I would be content to support that. That means the decision is based on information, and if there is to be a change, it will be on true proportionality, not a proportionality, then add him, and add him till it suits the figures that Councillor Cosby wants to get to.
Okay, thank you, Councillor O'Hanlon. Councillor Kevin Savage in the chamber, are you wanting in? Okay. Councillor Mackle, have you your hand up? You want back in again?
No, Chair, that's just from the last time. I hadn't took it.
Just
to clarify that, I think Councillor Tennyson seconded my proposal there. I'm just clarifying from him.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Mackle. Thank you. Members, I'm seeing no more hands and no more lights in the chamber. So we're at the scenario where we have 2 proposals. Both have been proposed and seconded. Yes, Councillor Cosby.
All right, Mr. Chairman. So just on that point, I don't actually believe Councillor Tennyson seconded anything. He said he was much more minded to support. There was never a formal seconding. And I raised the point because it actually is important in the process and whose proposal is taken first. So maybe the officers could clarify if there was a formal seconding. As far as I'm concerned, there was not.
Thank you, Councillor Cosby. Officers, I know certainly I did hear the word minded to.
Okay, Chair, Councillor Tennyson said he supported it. He didn't use the word seconded.
Right. Councillor Kevin Savage.
Chair, I think we should check with Councillor O'Hanlon, because I was going to second it, but I believe he did, and that's why I turned my light off. So I think rather than Councillor Tennyson, it was Councillor O'Hanlon. I don't know if I need to go back to him and ask him, Chair. Thank you.
Yes,
before that, Councillor Tennyson, your light's on.
Yeah, Chair, it's just to say that if I didn't second it, I'm happy to now if it hasn't already been. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Tennyson. And Councillor no. Members, just give us a minute.
Was it O'Hanlon?
members for that short interlude. Yeah, certainly I am been told by the officers that there wasn't a formal seconding by Councillor Tennyson. So that effectively means that Councillor Cosby's proposal was the first that was formally proposed and seconded. So therefore it would be the first that I would put to the meeting for a decision.
Chair, could I just request a recorded vote?
Absolutely, Councillor Lavery, thank you. It has already been requested by Councillor Cosby. So, members, you heard Councillor Cosby's proposal, which was duly seconded. Have we got agreement on Councillor Cosby's proposal?
No.
No.
Okay, recorded vote. So, as the list appears, members, it's a yes or a no or an abstain. So, with Councillor Barry, who's not here, Councillor Cosby.
Okay. I'm voting for the proposal.
Councillor Flaherty.
No.
Councillor Hockey.
No, Chair.
Councillor Hockeyan.
Not here, Chair.
Councillor Larkham. Councillor Larkham.
Not here, Chair.
Councillor Lavery.
No.
Councillor Mackle.
In the interest of inclusivity, Chair, no.
Councillor McKinstry.
No.
Councillor McNally. Is Councillor McNally on the call?
No, doesn't seem to be on yet, Chair.
Okay. Alderman Mutre.
Yes, sir.
Councillor O'Hanlon.
In the interest of real proportionality, no.
Councillor Kevin Savage. Councillor Kyle Savage not on the call. Councillor Owen Tennyson.
No, Chair.
Councillor Margaret Tinsley.
Yes.
Councillor Toman.
No, Chair.
Councillor Wilson. Councillor Ian Wilson.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman Bible. And myself as chair, yes. So give us a moment, members. Members, the result of the recorded vote is in favour, yes, 5, against, no, 9, and abstain, 1. And the yeses were Councillor Cosby, Alderman Moutre, Councillor Tinsley, Councillor Wilson, and myself, Councillor McClelland, as chair. The noes or against were Councillor Flaherty, Councillor Hockey, Councillor Hockeyan, Councillor Lavery, Councillor Mackle, Councillor McKinstry, Councillor O'Hanlon, Councillor Kevin Savage, Councillor Tennyson, and Councillor Toman, and abstain was the vice chair. The motion or the proposal falls, members. So then we go on. We go on, members, and we put the second proposal to the meeting, which was Councillor Mackle proposed, and Councillor Tennyson or Councillor O'Hanlon, or it was in the end, it was seconded. Do we have agreement, members, on Councillor Mackle's proposal?
Yes.
Okay. We don't have agreement, members, so we are going to vote again on Councillor Mackle's proposal. All right. So,
Chair, just for clarity in respect of the first vote, recorded Councillor Hockin as voting against. Councillor Hockin isn't present.
okay, thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Mackle, for that. It obviously doesn't alter. No. All right, so Councillor Mackle, we are on your proposal. So going down the members, Councillor Cosby.
No, Chair.
Councillor Flaherty.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Hockey.
Sure.
Councillor Hockin is not on the call. Councillor, neither is Councillor Larkham. Councillor Lavery.
Yes.
Councillor Mackle.
Yes, yes, Chair.
Councillor McKinstry.
Yes.
Councillor McNally isn't on the call. Alderman Moutre.
No, Chair.
Councillor O'Hanlon.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Kevin Savage.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Kyle Savage isn't on. Councillor Tennyson.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Tinsley.
No.
Councillor Toman,
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Ian Wilson,
No, Chair.
Vice Chair Alderman Twyble,
Again, I abstain.
and myself, Chair Councillor McClellan, no. So that wasn't a two. Okay, members, Councillor Mackle's proposal, yes or 4, 9, no or against 5, and abstain 1. So that motion is carried, members. Councillor Cosby, are you wanting in?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, just to put on record my thanks to Sharon. I'm sure you'll be glad that this matter is now drawn to a conclusion, that you have an actual decision going forward. So thank you, Sharon, for your patience with me and for doing the work on this. What I will say is that I am astounded that the other unionist members of this council have effectively voted tonight to continue the dominance of both the Sinn Féin and the SDLP, including then the Alliance Party, to hold a majority on influential working groups that some say there might not be decision-making bodies, but we know they do substantial amounts of work on issues across this council. And that is contrary to the democratic wishes of the electorate of the ABC Council area. So those unionists who have voted to facilitate the ongoing Nationalist and Alliance majority on working groups should, in my view, come out now and explain to the electorate why they are content to hand over significant influence to those who would seek in other councils, for example, Newry, Morningdown or Mid-Ulster or Derry and Strabane, to diminish any influence that unionism has. But yet we elevate them here in this place when they have absolutely no objections to push down and, pour contempt upon the heads of unionists in other council areas. I think it is shameful. And the Ulster Unionist Party, who could not support a proposal to reflect the democratic wishes of the electorate in ABC Council to restore democratic order to the working groups, should be ashamed of themselves. And I do find it quite sad that some of those members who give me private assurances that they would support such a proposal and that something needed to be done could not bring themselves to vote to right what is a democratic wrong.
Thank you, Councillor Cosby. 2 more lights on, members. Councillor Mackle, you're up first.
Thank you, Chair, and thank God that episode's over, but we got to the nub of it at the end. It wasn't really about anything other than trying to create a fight between the DUP and the Ulster Unionists to make Councillor Cosby seem like the big boy so he can make his way back into that party. Thought that all along.
Thank you, Councillor Mackle. Councillor McKinstry, you're up next.
Thanks for letting me in, Chair. And I suppose I do need to respond to that. You know, I take part and attend so many of those working groups. I attend, regularly. I very rarely don't attend. And, that they are opportunities for people right across the parties to discuss the issues before they're out into the live sessions and into the committees when the decisions are made. I feel it gives us a good, frank and broad discussion in those, like Councillor Tennyson said whenever he was talking about this at the start. So I'm not ashamed to allow these working groups to continue to operate the way they do. I do think, though, that there is a review coming up, and I will be patient and wait for the review and see what it advises us to do. And only then, whenever we have all the facts and and look back at what's been going on, only then will I make that final decision. But it will not be on the basis of orange and green. It'll not be one of these binary choices. It'll be because it's the right thing to do for good governance in this council, and only for that reason. And that's why I have voted the way I have tonight. But I don't feel I should have had to speak tonight in this manner, following the accusations that Councillor Cosby has thrown at us about being non-democratic. I'm really quite offended by that. Thanks for giving me the time to speak.
Thank you, Councillor McKinstry. Councillor Tennyson.
No, thank you, Chair. And much like Councillor McKinstry, I just wanted to speak briefly on Councillor Cosby's remarks, though I don't want to lower myself to them necessarily. I want to thank those parties, the Ulster Unionist Party and Sinn Féin, who actually wouldn't have lost representation under the arrangement proposed, for standing up for inclusion of all parties on work groups. I think that's really important. And I appreciate all of the parties who have stood against this proposal tonight. I mean, ultimately, this has never been an issue over the past, since the council was set up 2014, 2015. Never been an issue until the Alliance Party became represented on the council. So I think it is a direct attack actually on the Alliance Party, because an election is coming up and they want to create a full row between parties. I also think Councillor Cosby's remarks, there was an undertone of blatant sectarianism actually in what Councillor Cosby said. And I want to be very clear. I represent people who are unionist. I represent people who are nationalist, and I represent people who don't fit into either of those boxes, and I'm very proud of it. And I will not be shouted down from my role and my positions on working groups in order to do that.
Thank you, Councillor Tennyson. And one last speaker, and then I'm drawing this to a conclusion. Councillor O'Hanlon.
Chair, the opportunity, if Councillor Cosby was genuine about increasing representation on it, sure, there was option discussed prior to this, where not only did we have the current makeup, but we then added Councillor Cosby onto the working group to give him that wee bit of extra bump that he would then had created an additional seat on it. So do you know what? I'm very proud of Louise McKinstry tonight for the way she spoke. I thought it was someone who was a true Democrat, who's on this council for people that she serves. Doesn't matter whether they're green, they're orange, or they're anything else. Fair play to you, Louise. I'm glad to be associated with you as a colleague on council.
Thank you, Councillor O'Hanlon. Right, members, there's no other lights in the chamber and there's no hands raised, so we'll move on. I have to read this. I have to seek a proposer and a seconder to go into committee for the consideration of confidential items of business. Alderman Mutray proposed, Councillor Kevin Savage seconded. And I have to read this out. Members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, exempt information, we will now be moving into a confidential session of the Council. This means that we will be turning off the public feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask the ICT officers to please turn off the feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of this meeting can proceed? session. Thank you. It's on. Members, agenda item 8, any other relevant business? No one's animated, no hands. Members, that only leaves it for me to thank everyone for their participation this evening. We've got through quite a full agenda, and thank you, and I wish you the best for the rest of your evenings. Thanks, members. Good night.
Thank you, Chair.